The joke was supposed to last 10 minutes, just long enough for laughter to ripple through a group chat and for someone to secretly record his awkward reaction. Rowan Hale walked into the sunlit cafe that afternoon, holding his daughter's small pink backpack instead of flowers. No one expected the quiet dignity that followed to silence an entire room. He was a single father with tired eyes and a schedule carved by school bells and hospital bills. Day he believed he was arriving for a real blind date, not realizing he was the punchline of someone else's cruel idea. Before the story unfolds any further, pause for a moment. If you believe kindness deserves second chances and quiet goodness still matters in this world, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Touch of Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Rowan had been convinced to come by co-workers who said he needed to move on after his wife's passing, that his life couldn't be reduced to packed lunches and night shifts forever. They told him the woman he'd meet was sweet, different, and worth the effort. What they did not tell him was that the woman, Maria Solis, had been invited under a similar false pretense, her hearing impairment treated as part of the setup, rather than a part of her humanity. The cafe was flooded with midday light, the clink of cups and low music floating through the air, but Maria noticed none of it. She noticed the way Rowan approached carefully, as if the world might break if he stepped too loudly, and the way his eyes softened when he realized she could not hear him speak. The people watching from a distance waited for confusion, for embarrassment, for Rowan to leave. Instead, he sat down slowly, placed the backpack gently beside his chair, and smiled in a way that carried no trace of pity. He noticed the notebook on the table, the one Maria used to communicate when needed, and without making a show of it, his name and a simple greeting. His hands were rough from work, but steady, and when Maria looked up, surprised, she found not mockery but patience in his expression. Outside, sunlight poured across the pavement, people passed by laughing, and inside, something fragile began to form. Rowan's life had taught him to listen without sound. Years of caring for a grieving child had sharpened his awareness of unspoken needs. As Maria wrote back, explaining who she was and apologizing for the awkwardness, Rowan shook his head gently, making it clear there was nothing to forgive. He began to observe her world instead of forcing her into his. He watched her hands move, her eyes light up when she spoke about her art, the sketches she sold at weekend markets. He showed her pictures of his daughter, Arwen, smiling proudly in a homemade costume. Time passed unnoticed, and the watchers grew uneasy as the joke refused to land. What Rowan didn't know was that someone had already started filming, expecting a viral moment of discomfort. What they captured instead was a man quietly moving chairs so Maria could see him better, writing carefully so she wouldn't feel rushed, ordering food by pointing and confirming visually so she wouldn't be excluded. When a sudden burst of laughter erupted nearby and Maria startled, Rowan instinctively placed the backpack closer to her feet, a grounding gesture he used with his daughter during panic moments. That small act broke something open in Maria's chest, because it was not rehearsed kindness but practiced care. As the afternoon light shifted and shadows stretched across the cafe floor, the truth leaked out. A snickering whisper reached Maria through a note passed by a guilty acquaintance, revealing the setup. Her face fell, humiliation flushing through her. She stood, gathering her things, ready to leave before the tears could surface. Rowan noticed immediately. He read the note, then slowly tore it in half, his jaw tightening not with anger, but resolve. He wrote again, longer this time, explaining that whatever others intended did not define what he chose to do next. He asked her to stay, not as a joke, not as charity, as a person he genuinely wanted to know. The recording phones lowered. Some eyes filled with tears. Rowan paid the bill, thanked the barista with a nod, Maria outside into the warm daylight. He didn't try to fix the world in one afternoon, but he offered something rarer, respect without conditions. By the time they parted, there was no dramatic kiss, no loud apology from the crowd, just two people standing in sunlight, both a little braver than before. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that real strength often looks quiet and real love begins with seeing, please take a moment to engage with this video. Your likes, shares, and comments help spread compassion farther than you know. And before the final moment fades, here's a special request. Comment the word key and if you believe empathy can still change lives. Because sometimes the joke ends not in laughter, but in tears of shame, growth, and unexpected hope. And sometimes, a single dad walking into a cafe at midday can teach everyone watching what humanity truly sounds like, even in silence.